Adanna was a jewel among maidens. Her skin was smooth, like the morning sun. Her eyes sparkled like the stars, and her laughter could silence an entire gathering. Her hair, always decorated with coral beads, shone in the light of the fire. The people of Umudim often said, "1,000 maidens can dance at the market square, but only Adanna will be remembered." Her beauty was a gift, but also a curse, for it filled her heart with pride. When Adanna walked through the market, women paused in their trading to admire her. Men turned their heads to catch one more glimpse. Children whispered to each other, "That is the princess. See how she walks." But Adanna never greeted anyone. She raised her chin high, as though the ground itself was not worthy to carry her feet. King Obieze sat on his carved wooden throne one evening, watching Adanna stroll across the palace courtyard. He smiled proudly. King Obieze said, "My daughter, you are more beautiful than the full moon. Soon, suitors will come from near and far. You must be ready." Adanna, smiling faintly, said, "Father, let them come, but not every man deserves to touch even the dust of my feet." The king laughed, not knowing the weight of her words. One cool evening, Queen Nneka sat with her daughter in the courtyard. The smell of roasted yam filled the air as servants prepared supper. The queen's voice was soft but firm. "Adanna, my daughter, beauty is like a ripe fruit, sweet today, rotten tomorrow. What remains is the heart. Be humble, my child, and you will be loved not only for your face, but for your soul." Adanna rolled her eyes. "Mother, do you not see how men chase after me? Why should I lower myself for them? They are the ones unworthy of me. I was born to be admired." The queen sighed deeply, shaking her head. She feared for her daughter, but Adanna was too proud to listen. The next month, the palace received a visitor. Prince Emeka of Nri arrived with his entourage, bringing kola nuts, goats, and fine wrappers. He was tall, handsome, and wealthy. He bowed before King Obieze. "Great king, I come with respect. I desire your daughter Adanna as my wife. I will honor her, and together our kingdoms will be united." The king smiled, pleased with the offer, but Adanna only laughed loudly. "This one? His face shines with oil, but his smell is of goat skin. Father, must I marry a man who smells like his goats?" The court gasped. The young prince's face turned red with shame. Without another word, he gathered his gifts and left the palace in silence. Weeks later, a hunter named Oche from the Igala kingdom arrived. He came with leopard skins, lion teeth, and elephant tusk as gifts. He bowed before the king and queen. "Great king, my arrows never miss. I will protect your daughter with my life. Let her be my wife, and I will honor her more than the treasures of the forest." Before her father could answer, Adanna stood and looked at him with scorn. "So you want me to cook for you while you chase bush rats? What kind of husband is that? Take your dirty skins away from my sight." Oche's hand trembled with anger. "Princess, you have no respect. May your beauty not blind your future." He stormed out, leaving his gifts behind. Soon after, a wise scholar from Arochukwu came. He had traveled far, bringing books, scrolls, and cowries. He was known across lands for his wisdom. He greeted the king with eloquent words. "Your Majesty, may your reign be long. I desire not your wealth, but your daughter, whose beauty is greater than the moon. With her by my side, I will build a kingdom of wisdom and peace." Adanna looked at him from head to toe and burst into laughter. "Your head is full of words, but your pockets are empty. How will you feed a princess? With your stories?" The scholar bowed his head, humiliated. The elders in the palace shook their heads, whispering, "This child has gone too far." The rejection of suitors in one season caused tongues to wag. In the marketplace, women whispered as they pounded yam, "Our princess is too proud." One said, "Beauty is good, but pride destroys." Another added, "Even the gods may soon grow tired of her arrogance." An elder muttered. But Adanna paid no attention. She walked proudly in her beads and wrappers, while children followed her, singing songs of her beauty. The New Yam Festival arrived, a time when the land celebrated harvest with drumming, dancing and feasting. Maidens painted their faces and tied raffia skirts. Young men wrestled at the village square, while elders shared palm wine. During this festival, many suitors lined up, bearing gifts, kola nuts, clothes, beads, goats. Each hoped to win Adanna's heart, but one by one she dismissed them. A trader from a distant land, "Your beard smells of fish." A warrior from a neighboring clan, "Your voice is too rough." A young hunter, "Your sandals are made of cheap leather." Each man left humiliated, while the villagers watched in silence. Adanna walked into the square with her head high, adorned in heavy beads. The maidens danced, their feet beating the earth in rhythm, but Adanna stood apart, unwilling to join them. When a small child reached to touch her wrapper, she hissed angrily, "Do not stain me with your dirty hands." The crowd murmured. Some looked away in shame, others whispered, "A princess should know kindness." That same evening, as the festival fire burned low, a ragged beggar walked into the palace gate. His hair was unkempt and his wrapper torn. His eyes, however, glowed strangely, though no one noticed. He bent low before Adanna. "Great princess, I am thirsty. Give me water to drink." Adanna's face twisted in disgust. "You dare ask me, a princess, for water? Who are you? A rat from the gutter? Guards, chase this useless man away. Look at you, smelling of the road, to ask for water from my jug? Get away before I sweep you aside like that." The beggar bowed his head, whispering, "Child, pride eats the soul faster than hunger." But Adanna spat on the ground. "Old fool, do not speak riddles to me." The beggar spoke again softly. "Kindness to the poor brings blessing, princess. Even a morsel of food will ease my hunger." Adanna bent down, scooped a handful of sand, and threw it in his face. "Here, eat dust. That is all you deserve." Gasp filled the courtyard. The king and queen looked on in shock, but before they could speak, thunder rumbled across the sky. The beggar straightened, and in that moment his ragged form began to glow. The palace courtyard fell silent. The ragged beggar, whom Adanna had mocked, stood tall. His torn wrapper melted away like smoke, replaced with shining clothes that glowed brighter than the moon. His back straightened, and his face shone like fire. The guards dropped their spears and fell flat on the ground. Women screamed and ran behind pillars. Even the king and queen rose to their feet, trembling. Adanna staggered back, her mouth open. "Who are you?" The man's voice thundered across the courtyard. "I am Ezemu, a messenger of the spirits. I came to test the heart of the princess of Umudim. But she has failed. She mocks the poor, despises men, and insults strangers." King Obieze stretched out his hands. "Great one, forgive her. She is young. She knows not the weight of her actions." But Ezemu's glowing eyes did not soften. Ezemu raised his staff high. "Adanna, daughter of Obieze, you have mocked men, despised humility, and now you mock a spirit of the road. From this day, your beauty shall no longer be your crown. You shall be despised as you have despised others, until humility washes your heart clean. Hear the judgment of the gods. You who think yourself greater than all, you who trample on others as if they are dust, you shall become dust. You shall crawl on your belly, despised and feared, until you learn humility." Adanna screamed, falling to her knees. No, no, I am a princess. You cannot do this to me. Queen Nneka wept bitterly. Please, spirit, show mercy. She is my only child. Ezemu shook his head. Only humility and sacrifice can free her. Until then, she shall live as what she despises most. Suddenly, thunder clapped across the sky. The wind blew so fiercely that the palace torches went out. Adanna clutched her body as her legs began to twist and melt. She screamed in terror as her skin hardened into tiny scales. Her arms shrank into her body. Her tongue split into two. Her eyes turned a glowing green slitted like a serpent's. Beads from her hair fell and clinked against the ground as her head flattened. The princess of Umudin was no longer human. She had become a snake. The palace erupted in chaos. Servants fled, some leaping over the courtyard walls in fear. Guards dropped their spears and covered their faces. The snake littered across the ground, hissing, her coral beads still hanging loosely around her scaly neck. Queen Nneka fainted, collapsing into the arms of her maidens. The king shouted in agony, "Adanna, my child!" But the serpent only hissed, its green eyes full of sorrow and rage. King Obieze fell on his knees before Ezemu, tears running down his face. "Great Spirit, have mercy. Take my throne, take my life, but spare my daughter. She is all I have." Ezemu looked at him with pity but did not relent. The word of the Spirit cannot be broken. Only when she learns humility and sacrifice for others shall she return to her human form. With those words, Ezemu's body dissolved into light and vanished into the night. The once proud princess lay coiled in the palace courtyard, hissing weakly. Her jeweled beads jingled each time she moved. The guards stood at a distance, too afraid to go near her. The villagers, hearing the commotion, gathered outside the palace gates. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Have you heard? The princess has turned into a snake. They say it is the punishment of the gods. She mocked the poor spirit. Now see her shame." The king called the elders into his hall. Their faces were grave as they sat on carved stools. Kola nuts laid before them. Elder Okoro, the eldest among them, spoke slowly. "My king, a curse from the spirit is not lifted by tears. We must seek the oracle. The princess must walk the path the gods have chosen." Another elder nodded. "If she remains here, fear will consume the people. They will not eat, they will not sleep. For who will share a land with a serpent princess?" The king buried his face in his hands. What father sends his child into exile? But the elders were firm. Better one child suffers than the whole kingdom perish. The next morning, the king went to the shrine of Afa, the oracle of Umudim. The shrine priest, his body painted in white chalk, shook his staff and spoke. "The gods have spoken. The princess must leave the palace. She must live as a serpent until she learns humility. Only when she sacrifices for another, someone she once despised, will her human form return." The king wept openly. "So there is no other way." The priest shook his head. "The pride of the princess brought this upon her. Let her journey teach her what words could not." At dawn, the villagers gathered as the serpent was brought to the palace gate. Some climbed trees just to watch. Others carried children on their backs to witness the spectacle. Queen Nneka clung to the king's arm, crying, "Do not send her away. She is still my child." But King Obieze's face was carved in sorrow. The will of the gods must be obeyed. The gates opened, and the guards prodded the snake gently towards the forest. Adanna hissed, her eyes wet with tears that only she could feel. The sun rose as the serpent princess entered the dark forest. Birds scattered from the trees. Monkeys screamed and fled. The forest swallowed her whole, its shadows wrapping around her like a shroud. Behind her, the gate of Umudim closed slowly, shutting her off from the life she once knew. Alone, afraid, and cursed, Adanna began the journey of humility. Adanna slithered through the forest, her jeweled beads clinging against rocks. The ground was cold and damp. Owls hooted above, and the rustle of unseen animals made her heart pound. She tried to call out, but only a hiss escaped her throat. She remembered the comfort of her soft bed, the maidens who fanned her, the delicious meals served daily. All that was gone. She called under a tree root, trembling. Why me? I am a princess, not an animal, she thought bitterly. But the memory of Ezemo's voice haunted her. Only humility and sacrifice can restore you. Days passed. Hunger gnawed at her belly. She could no longer eat the roasted goat meat and sweet yams she loved. Her body now craved what snakes eat, tiny animals. She tried to resist, but hunger overpowered her. With lightning speed, she caught a small rat in the grass. As she swallowed it, tears filled her eyes. Look at me, I who rejected kings and princes, now eat rats. Her pride was slowly crumbling. One afternoon, Adanna slithered near a stream to drink. Suddenly, a hunter appeared, his bow drawn. Aha! A big snake. The gods have blessed me today. Adanna froze, her heart pounding. The hunter's arrow whistled past her, missing by inches. She darted into the bushes, her scales scraping against thorns. Panting under a log, she realized, in this form, no one would protect her. No father, no guards. She was truly alone. That night, Adanna found a pool of water glowing under the moonlight. She slithered close and looked in. What she saw broke her heart. A serpent stared back at her, its jeweled beads tangled on its neck. She remembered her face, the smooth skin, the proud eyes, the beauty that once commanded the attention of all men. Now all of that was gone. She hissed weakly, and for the first time, she whispered in her heart, if only I had been kind, if only I had listened. The next morning, Adanna crawled weakly near the forest path. Suddenly, she heard the shuffle of feet. An old woman bent with age and carrying a bundle of firewood appeared. Her eyes, though wrinkled, shone with wisdom. She stopped and looked straight at the snake. Strangely, she did not scream or run. Instead, she said softly, so the proud princess has fallen. Adanna's eyes widened. She hissed in shock. How does this woman know me? The old woman dropped her firewood and sat on a rock. I know your story, child. The spirit showed me. You thought the world revolved around your beauty. You mocked others, forgetting that the breath in your nostrils is not yours but a gift. Adanna lowered her head, ashamed. The woman continued, but all hope is not lost. Your cause can be broken, but only when your heart bends like the bamboo in the storm. For the first time, Adanna listened without pride burning in her heart. Just then, a parrot flew in, its feathers bright and eyes sharp. Parrot, squeak! Pride ruined the princess. Squeak! Will she learn humility? Adanna hissed angrily. Mock me no more. The old woman shook her head. A humble heart does not quarrel with truth. Listen, even if it stings. Adanna lowered her head in shame. That evening, a group of forest children ran along the path. Carrying sticks, they saw Adanna and screamed, a snake! Kill it! They raised their sticks high. But the old woman stood in front of Adanna. Stop! This snake is not what you think. The children hesitated. The old woman turned to Adanna. Protect them, though they seek to harm you. This is your first test. Just then, a white dog leaped out of the bushes, snarling at the children. Adanna didn't think twice. She sprang forward, hissing loudly, and coiled around the white dog. The dog struggled and snapped its teeth, but Adanna tightened her grip until it fled, whimpering into the forest. The children stared in shock. They dropped their sticks and ran home, shouting, "The snake saved us." Adanna lay weak on the ground, exhausted. The old woman smiled gently. "Good, you have taken your first step toward humility." The old woman took Adanna to her small hut deep in the forest. Though Adanna was still a snake, the woman spoke to her as though she were a human. "You will stay with me, you will serve, you will listen, and you will learn. For a princess who once had many servants must now become a servant herself." Adanna bowed her head. For the first time, she did not protest. She guarded the old woman's hut at night, chasing away wild animals. Each day, the woman told her stories of kindness, of rulers who were loved because they served their people. Adanna listened, her heart softening like clay in water. Sometimes, when she called by the fire, she whispered in her heart, "I was blind. Pride was my chain, but maybe, just maybe, I can change." And far away in the spirit world, Ezemo watched silently, waiting for the day her transformation would happen. Back in Umudim, whispers began to spread among the villagers. Some children claimed, "We saw a snake that saved us from a wild dog." Others laughed, dismissing it, but Elder Okoro stroked his beard. "Not every snake is ordinary. Perhaps the princess walks among us still, learning what she refused to learn in her father's palace." Queen Nneka often prayed at night, lifting her hands towards the heavens. "Spirit of mercy, wherever my daughter is, guide her steps." One cool evening, Adanna coiled by the old woman's fire. The woman looked into the flames and said, "Child, your journey is not yet over. The spirit will soon test you with the hardest choice of all." Adanna tilted her head. "Harder than hunger? Harder than shame? Harder than being feared by everyone?" The woman nodded. "Yes, for true humility is not in words, nor in suffering alone. It is in choosing another's life above your own." Adanna shivered, sensing a storm was near. Far away in the village, drought struck Umudim. The yams rotted, streams dried, and the people grew restless. King Obieze summoned the oracle again. "What must I do to save my people?" The oracle replied, "The land cries for sacrifice. Only a willing heart can restore the rains." The king's shoulders slumped. What sacrifice is greater than a father giving his throne? But the oracle only shook his head. "It is not your throne the land seeks." One morning, Adanna and the old woman heard voices. A group of forest hunters entered the forest. The drought worsened. One hunter said, "The people say a serpent cursed our land. If we kill it, maybe the gods will pity us." Adanna froze, her heart pounding. The hunter's eyes scanned the undergrowth. She realized with horror they were searching for her. Suddenly, a huge python lunged from a tree, striking one of the hunters. The men screamed and scattered. Without thinking, Adanna darted forward. She clashed with the python in a furious battle, striking with her fangs until the massive serpent slithered away. The hunters, stunned, watched silently. One whispered, "This snake, it saved us." Another muttered, "Could it be the princess?" But before they could speak further, Adanna vanished into the bushes. That night, the old woman sat Adanna down. Her wrinkled face was serious. "Child, the spirits are preparing you. Soon you will face your last test. Someone you once despised will fall into danger, and only your sacrifice can save them. If you choose yourself over them, you will remain a snake forever. But if you give yourself, the curse will break." Adanna coiled silently, her heart torn. She whispered in her soul, "Can I truly give my life after all I've suffered?" The next day, Adanna slithered to a stream. There, she saw a young maiden struggling with a heavy pot of water. Adanna recognized her. It was one of the palace maidens she had once mocked. She remembered the day she shouted at the girl for spilling palm oil on the floor. Now the maiden slipped and fell, crying as the heavy pot pinned her leg. From the bushes, a white leopard approached silently, its eyes fixed on her. Adanna froze. Fear surged through her. If I fight the leopard, it might kill me, but if I stay hidden, the girl will die. The maiden screamed as the leopard crept closer. Summoning courage, Adanna burst from the bushes, hissing fiercely. She struck the leopard again and again. The beast clawed her side, tearing her scales, but she refused to let go. Finally, the leopard fled into the trees. Bleeding and weak, Adanna lay beside the maiden, who trembled in shock. "This snake, it saved my life," she whispered. Tears filled her eyes. Adanna's vision blurred, her body fading. Suddenly, a bright light engulfed the forest. A Zemud spirit appeared once again, holding his staff. "Adanna, daughter of Obieze," his voice echoed. "You have done what few can do. You gave your life for one you once despised. The chains of pride are broken." Before the maiden's eyes, Adanna's scaly body began to change. The wounds healed. The beads around her neck glowed brightly. Her serpent form stretched and twisted until at last a young woman lay where the snake had been. The princess was human again. News spread like wildfire. The princess had returned, humbled and changed. When Adanna walked into the palace, her parents wept and embraced her. My child, you are home." But Adanna fell to her knees before them. "No, father, I am no longer the proud daughter you once knew. I am a servant of the people. My life is not mine alone. It belongs to Umudim." The villagers, seeing her humility, rejoiced. The rains returned, and the land flourished once more. From that day, Adanna became a queen loved by her people. She served them, fed the poor, and listened to the cries of even the lowest farmer. And whenever a child grew proud or mocked the weak, the elders of Umudim would tell this story. "Remember the princess who became a snake. Built to faith, pride destroys, but humility gives life."